We all have a beater watch at some point in our watch collecting journey. That watch is the one we use whenever we are in a rush and are confident in it not giving up along the course of using it. The definition of a beater watch is a cheap, affordable watch that you use daily. You won't feel as guilty by not being too careful about it, since it is not a luxury watch. But the definition might also be subjective. Some watch owners only have one watch, and it so happens that it is also a luxury watch, and so they also consider it to be their beater watch too. But in this video, we'll be discussing a beater watch by the universally known definition of it being a cheap, affordable do-it-all watch. I won't be focusing specifically on a watch brand, but rather the category that it is in. First on this list are quartz and digital watches. When I say digital watches, I mean the Casios and their G-Shocks, maybe some Timex, but not smartwatches, such as the Apple Watch for example. A quartz watch is an inexpensive beater watch to have. The battery can be changed easily, and some batteries can last up to a decade. This includes solar watches, which are basically bulletproof watches. I have here a Citizen, which is a solar watch. At the same time, it has built-in GPS signal reception that can correct itself to the time in just immaculate precision and consistency wherever your region might be. Although this one is not charged, as you can see it is not working, but if I put it out on sunlight, it will automatically recalibrate itself to the correct time on my location. There are other watches from Seiko like this, maybe the Astron watches. Those are not cheap at all. They are more expensive than mechanical watches. I have a baby G-Shock right here, and this was my beater watch when I was a kid, unknowingly, because I didn't really have a conscious mind on what was being put on my wrist before. But I really liked the shark animation moving around whenever I pressed down on the illumination button. And as you can see, this has no rubber case to it anymore, and I just ordered a battery for this because it is quite different than most quartz watches. Yeah, it's quite big right there. I'll show a picture of the animation if I can find it. So this is just a sentimental watch to me, and it's been with me ever since. I find it hard to find the rubber case since it's not manufactured anymore. This used to be blue. Yeah, so that is my beater watch when I was a kid. Another few examples I have here are a Seiko Chronograph Quartz, a Tissot Quartz, and a Casio digital watch, which I have reviewed previously, and it's just a really no-brainer cheap watch. So this is a Seiko Chronograph, which has a field watch type to it, military design. Forgot the code there. Yeah, 1792. And this one is a Tissot, which is really nice because you can just wear it on special occasions, and it's a quartz watch, so it is always ready and accurate. These watches you can just easily grab and go without even thinking about adjusting them, since they are accurate up to the point until their battery depletes. But yeah, quartz watches are the easiest beater watches to consider on this list. Second on this list is a vintage watch, specifically a dive watch, since I would prefer a vintage dive watch with a screw-down crown, as it is much more reliable. I'm not saying vintage dive watches that cost more than the modern ones, such as the original Seiko 62 or 6159-7000. Those cost a lot more than high-end modern Seikos. Maybe just start with a 7002 or a beaten up SKX, or even Citizen and Orient watches, which we have here. These watches can withstand a lot of things and are repairable, and you won't have to worry about damaging the crystal or the bezel insert, since it is already damaged. So we have a few examples here. This one is a Citizen dive watch, screw down crown. I'm not sure what the year on this watch is. Unidirectional bezel, and it is a Pepsi bezel watch. Very nice. I forgot the reference, and this is on a Seiko bracelet. It's the only one that I like on it, if you can see that. Next we have a Orient. I believe these are what they call the chunky divers, because they're chunky. I don't think the hands are supposed to be Mercedes hands. Regardless, this is what I'm saying. Vintage watches, these are just excellent beater watches to have in the collection. It's 200 meters of water resistance. Really nice. This one has the crown on the 3, this one on the 4 right there. The reason why I would like to choose a vintage dive watch rather than just a vintage watch, for example, let's say a dress watch, is because I want to protect the dial from further damage from moisture getting into it. So yeah, second on this list is vintage dive watches. Third on this list is an homage watch. Some people like to call it a rip-off or replica, but since the design is so similar to the original watch that it is based on, it is hard to deny the value that you're getting from these watches. We have a Sandoz Submariner here that looks like a vintage Rolex. I'm not quite sure what specific reference, but correct me if I'm wrong. It took inspiration from the Rolex 5513 or 5517 mil sub, which is not a cheap watch. Just by searching it alone, it cost a whole lot of money. You can see the similarities from afar, maybe the 12, 6, and 9 indices there. This one happens to be a day date with an ETA 2836 movement. It is fairly thin. I'll put the specs here since I don't have my caliper with me. The bezel insert is also a sub-style insert with markings up to the 15-minute mark. Now, some homage watches are specifically targeted to high-end luxury pieces such as Rolex, for example. Squale has a homage for the Submariner and some other brands, which looks really nice too. There are several micro brands that do this, and I personally don't buy these types of watches since I believe I would just opt for a beaten down vintage watch rather than a modern lookalike. But for a watch that will be a beater watch and you don't fear it being used more than usual, or even God forbid being stolen from you, a modern homage watch is not a bad choice at all. You get the design of the watch with the sacrifice of quality, of course, but without the premium price. Fourth on this list is a mod watch or a modified watch. You get to choose the durability of your watch and can easily opt to customize it whenever you feel like changing things up on the watch. This is the most viable option if I were to choose from all these. The ability to improve a beaten up watch with a sapphire crystal and a luminous bezel insert is just phenomenal. Now, given it is not cheap to build a watch from scratch, especially if you want the best parts possible, but just by improving your already beaten up watch, let's say this SKX, to something even more robust is a testament to it being used even more, since you can just easily replace parts instead of buying a whole watch, given that this is more targeted to Seiko watches since there are a ton of mods for it. I have seen some collectors build watches from scratch using AliExpress watch parts and are just as good. Again, these mod watches are good beater watches because you don't really think about it as being sought after or that they have to be great. It just has to go by your taste and preference on what your ideal watch would look like. And as a surprise, there is a fifth watch, and it is the one you like to wear, as cliche as that sounds. No matter how premium it may be or affordable, if you use it as it is and don't care about scratching it up and making memories with the watch, a beater watch can be anything at the end of the day. I just laid down 4 categories on what I believe to be the practical and viable options. But when it is all said and done, these watches are tools, and whichever you choose, there's no right or wrong watch. Only the one you enjoy wearing. So there you have it, guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you had a beater watch when you were a kid or what your beater watch is right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Stay safe.